You have to build a culture that makes your agents feel like you care about their success. If you are all in it for you to make all the money, they'll see right through it. As I'm recruiting and looking for people to add to our team, I tell them my goal is for every one of my team to make six figures. If you're making more money and you got people around you that love and care about you, the sky's the limit. And they're going to be your biggest advocates for growth. But you're also handling everything. And to me, collaboration, it's just another step in us getting better. I learn from my team as much as they learn from me.
Ready? Ready to rock and roll? Is that action? All right.
Okay. That's right.
All right.
Absolutely. Go. Go.
Hello, everybody. It's Jason Will with
Go.
So this is a real estate podcast, but we talk about leadership, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership, check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Growth, best version of yourself. Go. So this is a real estate podcast. Welcome to the Impact Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Will. This is a podcast that is sponsored by J. Park Houston County. I am joined today by Owen Gill with the Gill Realty Group at J. Park Houston County. Welcome, Owen.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Deep Fried Studios.
Thank you.
This is Owen's first podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, you got a voice for radio and a face for TV.
I've heard that.
Yeah, some people get offended when you're like, voice for radio? What does that mean? So I wanted to invite you into the podcast this morning because you've got some interesting things going on in your real estate career. And the reasons why you have these interesting things going on in your real estate career, I think are very important for agents out there to hear.
Absolutely. As far as, just the overall success of my team at this point, a lot of it was a reevaluation of how to structure our team and go forward. So it's learn from your failures to get better.
Let's unpack that a little bit because the team concept is really, really important. Tell us about how your team looked maybe last year. What's the difference between last year and this year in terms of the structure?
We had originally structured our team very similar to a model that you see, across the U.S., where you've really got, you've got listing specialists, buyer specialists, and like a contract to close person. And that went well for us. We did good our first year breaking off and becoming Gill Realty Group, but we had some hiccups last year. And one thing that really kind of made the light bulb go off was the Impact Agent conference we did last year. And that really, got things in motion for me to restructure how we do our team.
Okay, so this is a good place to pause. I like to do this every now and then, this podcast, and make sure people aren't listening past the action. And so the tip I hear from you is go to conferences.
Absolutely.
Become learning-based.
Yes.
Be education-based, because just to clarify this for the audience, you're on a path right now that could very well lead you sometime in the very near future, if not the end of the year, as the number one team in Baldwin County. Who knows? We're just getting started this year. It could be Baldwin County, Mobile County.
That's the goal.
So this is a key fact for the audience to hear. If you hadn't gone to that conference, you hadn't made the commitment to spend the money to buy the tickets, the hotel room, all that stuff. And of course, you're in business with your wife. I want to talk about that a little bit too. But you guys were able to make like a little mini vacation out of it. and then learn some incredible information. So I think that's pretty key. So I want to make sure people hear that. I hear a lot of times I can't afford it. I've heard it all before.
Well, and I'm always preaching this to my team, which is I'm big on the learning base. If you don't go out and network and learn from other successful people in this industry, you're going to end up only listening to yourself. And you don't know everything.
Yeah, man, that's good. Conferences have changed my life. Mm-hmm. And so I had this great idea. I was going to host my own conference and, ended up going I almost paid this debt off, but it was a a lot of people don't know, it was a $350,000 debt that I accrued doing this. So when I hear people like you say, hey, what I learned at this conference has potentially changed my life, then I'm like, that's an investment well spent. And I know you're not alone in that, but I just want to tell you that means a lot to me because that conference put a lot of pressure on me, a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, Diane and I are good marriage-wise, but there were some tense moments there, and she is very frugal and very fiscally responsible. So she looks at it and goes, how many houses could I buy with 350 grand? Like, she's always wanted to flip houses. So I'm constantly costing her dreams. And so, whether it means anything to her or not, I got some validation from it. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And me and my wife, Adrienne, we have a very similar dynamic in how we go forward with business. I'm the visionary. I'm let's take the risk. Let's do this. Let's do that. She's much more, hey, check the numbers, make sure that it makes sense. And we have to do a little give and take with both sides of how we want to operate. But what that conference did for us was, especially for me, told me stop making people what they aren't. If you're going to build a team the right way, and there was a couple of speakers that you had there that really hit home with me. It made me think, okay, what can I do to get the best out of my people? And what I did was I started going and researching some of the really big teams, listening, when they're to their live videos, paying attention to what it is that makes them go. And what I saw was this: we have some agents that are really great in person. They're wonderful. Their personality in person is better. On the phones, it's not for everybody. The dials that you have to make in this industry to be successful, you got to find the right people that want to do that.
Yeah, so putting people in the right seats of the bus.
Right.
Because power prospecting is not for everybody.
It's not.
Some people can't close in an in-person appointment like others.
Absolutely.
One of the lessons, I have learned a lot of very expensive lessons. But one of the most recent expensive lesson that I learned is that the visionaries in the businesses, we can't replace ourselves. We're irreplaceable. And there's been several points in my career where I've thought, well, I'm going to try to ride out into the sunset here and not be done. Like, I'll never retire. I can't sit on a beach and be just content. I can't sit around a pool and just be like, I can do it for an hour or so. But then I'm like, I should be doing something. But just tried to pivot to other things. And there may be a point in time when I can do that. Maybe it was just too early, but I just feel like nobody's going to do it the way we're going to do it. Nobody's going to be able to go in there and look that seller in the eye and go, you're in good hands with me, the way we will, because it's our baby. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important for people to hear, especially that are building teams. Until you find that extension of the hardest hire you'll ever make is the person that replaces you. And if you ever find that. And in a lot of ways, I feel like if you want it to be successful, you'll never fully be able to take your thumbprint off of it. I'm actually doing business coaching right now, or just starting this journey with Lars Hedenberg, who, runs a team that sells over 450 homes a year, and he spends an hour or so on the business, but he's never fully gone. But you can imagine a couple hours a week, not a bad gig. So
yeah, it's not bad.
So what were some of the speakers at the conference that you think had the biggest impact on you that our listeners can follow?
Well, Jonathan Hawkins had a huge impact on me just from the social media standpoint. And I'm actually, part of his group that he's been launching lately. And it's just a lot of great information. To me, it's not using social media, it's how you put out information to make it useful to the consumer. And he's done a really good job of, for example, we were talking, the big thing is interest rates. All right, so you get on live and you go, hey, interest rates are low. And that, to the average person, that doesn't mean anything to them. You have to break that down and explain to them why a 3.1 interest rate versus a 3.5 is going to benefit them.
Yeah. What's in it for them?
What's in it for them? And, the hysteria over prices going up on homes and people feeling that it's going to price them out. But you understand that interest rates are something that offset that. You're basically getting the same house. You're just getting a better rate. Yeah.
So what you're talking about is the hashtag agent community.
Yes.
Which I'm also a member of, but he has pointed out at least once that I'm his worst student. I've consumed the least amount of content in that community, but I've got it. It's on my board. But I get to see him also in person a lot. And one of the things he talks about is he's big on storytelling. And essentially what you're talking about is just telling the story. Don't just say interest rates are at all-time lows. Tell the story behind it.
Right.
Like, why is this important? Like, what does it mean? So, super brilliant guy. Who else?
John Wentworth, for sure. I mean, I pretty much follow him daily on social media, just because he's very authentic in the way that he presents himself to social media, to the team that he runs. And I mean, if you're paying attention to what he's doing right now, numbers wise, I mean, it's a reflection of his personality. I'm a big follower of Gary Vee, and he's always about raw is real, be authentic, no matter what people think about you. He was very authentic.
Yeah.
Like when he spoke, I thought he was talking to me. He wasn't talking to everybody else.
Right.
And that's when you get someone that can influence you like that, it can really, it'll change your heart and about how you go about the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely a heart leader, and he's built a massive team. Remax fired him from the brokerage he was at and really forced him to go independent. And obviously it was one of the best things that ever happened to him. He's built this massive team, but he loves on his people. God, I mean, he cares about them like their family. And so it's like a magnet. He just attracts these people to him. He's like, I want to work with this guy. Yeah, it's nothing for John Whitworth to say Christ and the F word in the same sentence. And he means those both in very authentic ways. And I don't know, some people that may turn off, but to me it's endearing.
I have a past in the military.
Yeah.
So the language, doesn't obviously bother me like it would bother some. I think it just taps into more how authentic he is.
Yeah.
Because he's a very, devout, follower of Christianity, but he's also raw in that, hey, I make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like how he talks. He's just like, oh, mother, that's just who he is. But at the same time, he will bless you big time. Yeah. So I just don't think we can state it enough about how being learning based can change your life, because this structure of your team is gravitating to it, are they not? I mean, they're like, hey, I like this role that I'm in. I'm comfortable but are they happy with this structure? Do you get a sense that they are? But the big naysayers that listen to this go, well, they're not making money. I mean, how can they make money if they're getting a small percentage or whatever? So speak to those 2 points.
Well, I'll tell you this, they're all very happy with our team. I think part of that is culture. You have to build a culture that makes your agents feel like you care about their success. If you are all in it for you to make all the money, they'll see right through it. Something I always tell my agents as I'm recruiting and looking for people to add to our team, I tell them my goal is for everyone on my team to make 6 figures. Because if they're making 6 figures, obviously I'm doing well myself, but I know that that's an impact. That's a change into their income stream that most of them have never seen. If you're making more money and you got people around you that love and care about you, the sky's the limit. And they're going to be your biggest advocates for growth.
Yeah. And a lot of people, downplay teams because you're like, oh, it's a 50-50 split. I mean, that's the traditional model. Some of these members on your team are getting half of that and will still hit 6 figures.
Yes.
So the big mindset shift is like, what does the split matter as long as you're like, if your goal is like, hey, I don't want to, because we know burnout's a real thing in the industry.
Yes.
All right. So you're telling me I don't have to do things that scare the crap out of me or that I don't like, so I don't have to be miserable in what I do. I can really focus on focus on my lane. I can make 6 figures. I can be comfortable. I can be part of a team, be part of something bigger than myself, and enjoy an amazing culture.
Yeah, and one of the appeals of being on a team is obviously leverage.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this for years.
Right.
When you're part of a team, you have the ability to step away and recharge. If you want to go on vacations, you can go and know that someone else is there, stepping in and protecting your business. And again, that's a big part of the culture that you're trying to build with these teams. And yeah, when you hear people talk about the splits, and that's ultimately what everybody's like, well, if I just did 2 transactions a month, I wouldn't have to be on a team. Mm-hmm. But you're also handling everything. And to me, collaboration, it's just another step in us getting better. I learn from my team as much as they learn from me. They bring stuff to our meetings that I'm like, that's good. Let's implement that. Let's make it happen. Again, it's family. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that word. I know people are scared to death to use that word in business. I am not at all. I love that word. I think that's an excellent goal. But I look at it this way. I'm, child of the 70s, early 80s. And, it's like men weren't supposed to show vulnerability or weakness or much less cry or anything like that. And so things have just totally shifted. Like leadership is all about authenticity and vulnerability now. And I feel like that's where there's some shifts going on. Like people are longing for a community. They really want to be a part of something and they want to know that people care about them. So, that's really, really strong. The other thing that I think you just cannot be overstated or stressed enough is the accountability factor. Like these people, it's like the sports analogies are just the greatest because you're not going to keep your place on a sports team. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's Drew Brees' amazing year. If he flops next year, the Saints are going to be like, okay, well, maybe it's time for you to retire.
Yep.
So but that keeps him sharp. If he didn't have that kind of accountability, he wouldn't put in all the hours and all of it takes to be who Drew Brees is. And so that team, the aspect of the team model is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, not only Drew Brees, look at Tom Brady, 6-time Super Bowl champion, and he's possibly looking for a new team. And again, a lot of that's because you have somewhat of a down year and someone else steps up and wants to take your position. And it's the same thing in real estate. The moment you take your foot off the pedal, someone else is waiting, to kind of scoop that up. So you have to find ways to stay sharp in your business. Again, I think that continuing to push, everybody on the team, and also reincorporate, why they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're still recruiting. Like your other team members may go, well, Owen, we've got something good here. Mm-hmm. Why do you keep wanting to add people to the mix? And it's the same way why you want to add the teams, the best teams, or all the teams are trying to add the best rookies every year. Because it elevates the game of the entire team. It challenges the team, and people do need to see new people come and other people go, because some of these people on your team, God forbid, but it's probably going to happen. They may one day get complacent and they may have to go. And so it really challenges the team. I mean, that's the team, to be higher performing at all times. And if somebody's not performing, maybe for some reason or another, they've outgrown the team or the team's outgrown them, whatever it is. But that's just the nature of the beast. It's business. So
it is. And I think that transparency that I built with them, I mean, I laid it out on the board. I said, this is the structure of our team. We're going to have, listing people. We're going to have buyer's agents. We're going to have showing assistants. We're going to have an ISA team. And we're going to have a contract to close, department. And where do you fit? What are you comfortable with? What do you like? What do you like about the industry? Mm-hmm. If you can't say there's something that you don't get some passion from out of this, you're in the wrong business.
Right. Absolutely. And this is just another beautiful thing about the real estate industry is it's not a one-size-fits-all industry. There are so many different ways to make money. There are so many different spots you can fill. And, having a team like yours, really opens a lot of doors that they may not have ever seen. I mean, some of these agents on your team, if you hadn't had, structured it this way, may have been like, well, I'm going to go back to the 9 to 5. And to a lot of people, that's just, punching that clock is just, to me, it's like a death sentence. So it's no kind of way to live. So they can still have this autonomy in these positions that you're giving them. They can still, like you said, bring creative ideas to the table and go, how can I grow this particular seat on the bus that I've been given? How can I grow in my lane? So I love it. And the income is there. But what we're challenging, I think, a lot of times, through our content is the status quo in the industry, and especially we're sitting in Mobile, Alabama, which may be the most traditional closed mindset in terms of the real estate industry in the nation.
Yes.
That's going to be a popular statement. People are going to love that.
Yeah. Well, when I first decided to put a lot more focus in Mobile, I got a lot of pushback from the traditional agents and brokerages. And I think a lot of it is that when I went and started, getting more appointments and talking to people face to face, I brought an energy and a passion to, what I wanted to do to help them. It's funny, the other day I actually had someone come up and said, man, I'm seeing your signs all over Mobile. But that's part of, you got to have some thick skin in this industry, because Mobile has been a little bit behind, I would say, as far as, agents and what they're willing to do to market and sell homes. And to me, I'm just trying to expose the clients to all the tools that are out there.
I could not agree more. A lot of it, I think, goes back to the fact that they're not learning based. They don't get out of their environment. I mean, our boards, Mobile, Baldwin County Board of Realtors, they put on some great stuff. Kudos to them. But there's something else. There's some kind of added element to just getting out of your normal environment and getting around people that are thinking at a higher level. It's just going to elevate your game. We're a product of who we hang around. And so, maybe there's a clique of agents here and they just all hang around each other. Well, all their incomes look the same. They think the same, they're marketing the same. And, that was a big thing for me to get outside of this business. I mean, we literally I say this a lot, but we brought the coming soon marketing to this area. Well, I didn't invent that. I got an idea from somebody at a conference and then brought it back here. And everybody was like, I got so much pushback. They're like, what is this coming soon? And now it's everywhere. Well, that wouldn't happen, unless, I wasn't going to conferences. I wouldn't have learned about it and somebody would have brought it, somebody else would have gone to a conference and brought it and I would have picked it up from them. But there's a lot. I mean, technology is moving really, really fast.
It is. And I mean, Matterport, another great example of something that we kind of brought to the area.
Yeah.
Nobody was using Matterport.
Right.
Now you see it. Most of the photographers that you are looking for to do all the photography, they've got it on their price list.
Yeah.
They knew that it was something that was vital. So again, it's like we talk about. Sometimes you create additional, revenue streams by bringing different technology and different ideas to a market. It's helped other vendors. It's helped photographers. It's helped, the social media experts that are jumping on and seeing, the growth. Like you say, Facebook. I mean, Facebook is the burning building that everybody's running into.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And you'll find people that are. I mean, I met with an agent the other day, and I looked at her Facebook page, and I think it was like it was a recruit. It was like right in the interview, and I was like, well, here's one thing we need to change right away. I mean, I'm looking at your personal Facebook page, and I'm scrolling, and I'm looking, and on nowhere can I see that you're a real estate agent.
Yeah. Something else that you're hearing with Facebook is, well, Facebook's for old people. Yeah. I see younger, generation as they're getting out of high school, recognizing that Facebook's a vital part of your growth.
Yeah.
It's part of if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful in, whatever business that you're in, Facebook is still the ultimate source that everyone goes to.
Yeah, it's where all the eyeballs are.
That's right.
For better or for worse. And, there is a ton of business going there, and the older people tend to have the money. So I'm, where they go, I want to go. Now, tell us about I know there's a lot of people out there who have no idea what an ISA is. Explain that to our audience. What is that?
So ISA is your, internet sales or inside sales, however you want to reference it. But I've got a guy that basically dials for me. He sets appointments on the listing side, and we work out a pretty high standard as far as the number of dials he makes. So he makes $1,000 a week to set appointments, and when you got someone that's just focused on the phone follow up, if you're good at closing people as far as listing appointments and being good at that, it's a beautiful relationship to grow. He's doing so good that we're talking about growing, like an ISA department as we continue to have more success. ISAs are something that some people say it's a waste of time because you're constantly having to retrain, but it's finding strengths. Some people are really good on the phones. Some people are very driven, and that's their strength.
Yeah, if you have something that works, I mean, it's a proven tactic to implement a call center, whether that's one ISA, inside sales associate, or a whole building full of them. I mean, it works. So if you don't have the right person in the right seat of that bus, it's not going to work out no matter what the position is. A lot of us need to learn how to hire, learn how to fire,
Yes.
and a lot of those things. So I think that's a good point. And this is obviously we're talking about real estate and real estate teams, but I'm seeing call centers pop up in multiple industries, lawyers, insurance, anybody that has a product or service they want to sell. I mean, the phones are just so viable to doing that. And, it takes 7 to 15 touches to really convert a lead to a contact. So, that's a lot for one person to do.
It is. And I was always good on the phone. It's not that I wasn't good at it, but I knew that if I could put all my focus on those face-to-face, relationships with clients and potential clients, that I could, take our business to a different level. And one thing that I love to hear, and I've heard it several times in the last couple of weeks, is Cole, who's my ISA. They're like, man,
He's relentless.
They're like, he is, like he calls us every couple of days. I mean, we're like, hey, we're almost ready. I've had people that have called me and said, I wasn't even thinking about selling my house. I've had my house off the market for a year, and he kind of got me going, and then met with you, and now we're ready. I mean, that also, when you're talking about keeping the fire going, that keeps Cole fired up.
Yeah.
It keeps him motivated. Know what he's doing is working.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I think is interesting, because I've talked to some real estate teams who have multiple ISAs, and some of the people I've talked to here recently have said, we've done away with our ISA department. We're no longer using it. And I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. Well, what happened? And they'll say, we just weren't getting enough. It just wasn't paying for itself, or wasn't producing enough revenue. But what I'm finding is they were assigning those appointments to agents. First of all, the ISA may have not been in the right position. They maybe should have been an agent, but they were assigning these appointments to agents that couldn't close them. And so your ISA is assigning appointment is filling your calendar. You're going on the appointments, are you not?
Yes.
And so you're the top closer on the team. So that's like the highest and best use of this partnership.
Correct.
He sets the appointments, you close the appointments, and close for the contracts. And I think that's a winning combination. So moving forward, if you and Cole are building out a call center, then there's going to be more appointments than Owen can handle.
Right.
So there's got to be more Owens. There's got to be more closers, or the call center's not going to pay for itself, and you're going to fire people.
And that ultimately is like we talked about from the very beginning. How can I find another me?
Yeah.
How can I find? But I've actually got someone and we're talking a lot right now. He's in a different industry, but he's definitely the right kind of person. I think again, it's interpersonal relationships. Mm-hmm. You got to find people that in person, it's just natural for him. I learned it from watching my dad. As a kid, he ran one of these big boat clubs that people paid $20,000 to rent boats, and he was the guy. The salesman showed him the boats, and they brought him back to my dad. My dad closed them, and I sat in a room and watched how he did that. And it's just you got to find the closers. I mean, what's the famous coffees for closers?
Yeah.
So you got to find that. And we're looking. I think that the way that we structure our team to build that is everyone starts out as a showing assistant, or they're going to start out as an ISA. Mm-hmm. If we feel that we get to a point where I can't do the business anymore, as I handle all the appointments, then we look to promote from within by taking them. I've got an agent on our team that I'm taking her on a lot of my listing appointments now, and getting her, comfortable in front of people. She's got a great personality. I think she's going to be really good at it. We just have to teach her, to handle all the objections you get in person.
Yeah. And so another good place for, I think, a learning-based pause, that's the way Kyle Whistle runs his team. Everybody starts out in the ISA position or showing assistant position, and there's the hierarchy. They work themselves up to like full-fledged agent. Part of the Tom Ferry coaching model is, or a lot of it that was taught to us when I was in the program was, they don't go on a listing appointment by themselves until they've shadowed 25. So, and it can vary a little bit, but the static number was pretty much 25. And so that's another problem teams have. That's an issue that I've had historically with my team. It's just we it's like trial by fire. They're not ready for it.
I think that's where you go back to, the proper growth. I think that there's a couple of myths that people feel about when they get on real estate teams. They think that you're going to show up on a team and all of a sudden you're just going to do all this business. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be easy. And they don't realize, the amount of work that you got to put into it. It's a craft. It's like being a doctor or lawyer or anything else. If you're not continually learning and getting better, other people are learning those skills and they're outperforming you. So you have to really create that that hierarchy where they have to earn the right to go out there and get those appointments.
Yeah. I see that a lot. I mean, they just expect that you're going to hand them like hot, pre-qualified buyers,
Yes.
hot, ready, willing, and able sellers. And, and some of those opportunities are going to happen because you've got this database that you're building. But for the most part, this is always going to be whatever capacity you're in. It's always going to be, you're going to eat only what you kill business. And
Yes.
you got to go out there and get it. So in terms of the expansion element of this, so you're in Baldwin County now. Are all your agents based in Baldwin County?
Yes, most of the agents I have are all based in Baldwin County. I'm actually pushing right now and recruiting for Mobile agents.
Okay, so just for our listeners' sake, that's the neighboring county.
Correct.
So it's the two counties that cover the whole Alabama Gulf Coast. So how is that going to work? So you guys have these meetings every week. Are you going to have one meeting in Baldwin County, one meeting in Mobile County as the team builds, or the agent's going to have to drive from Mobile County? Because it's probably, most of the agents to come to your meeting location may be a 30-minute drive tops. So it's not that big of a deal.
No, we actually have talked about it. We've got a title company that we do, Anchor Title. So we've talked about utilizing a space there just to meet, once every 2 weeks. And just build that way. I want the Mobile agents that join our team to feel like they're not, a secondary part of the team. The team is, again, I do 50% of my business in Mobile. So it's important that I grow some Mobile agents onto our team from just showing assistant standpoint, having someone else that can handle, listing appointments, that knows Mobile, that's comfortable. I think, and again, we've got from the standpoint of the brokerage, the low fees, it helps as a team grows to not dump a bunch of fees on them on top of the team split.
Yeah.
So that's very important to us in recruiting.
The model is going to spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And the more Gill Realty Group signs in the ground in Mobile, the more people are going to go, who are they and who's JPAR? And what's this all about? And, when you look at the team model, I just feel like that JPAR has is I know it is. I know it's the best in the business. So
it is.
It's fun when you have an easy sell like that. So it should be fun to watch your team grow. It should, because it just should be just this magnetic thing that happens.
Yeah, it's when you build this, you have this vision of what your team can be, and all of a sudden, like it's trial and error. Everything that you're doing, you try things, some things work, some things don't. We're doing numbers that I knew we could do it, but when it's actually happening, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, so this is working. Now what do I do next?
Yeah,
because you don't want to stop your momentum.
Right.
This is a momentum business. So what can I do to keep the momentum going? And really a lot of it is just, it's adding people to the team so that we can continue to grow. And I'm again just humbled and blessed by how things are going.
Yeah, I feel an amazing amount of momentum. We have come to Mobile. I've come to Mobile a couple times and failed. And so, I know people are like, gosh, here he comes again. But I know we can build it over here. It's just, sometimes it's a matter of timing. For me in the past, it's been a matter of leadership, my own personal lack of leadership skills, people that I've hired. So maybe it's just the right time. Maybe it's the right model. I'm seeing agents starving for what we bring to the table. Because the collaboration factor is not just a team concept, it's a brokerage concept.
Correct, yes.
The accountability factor is not just a team concept, it's a broker concept. Like the art of finding people the right seat on the bus, like what do you want to do? And let's develop that. So let's go wide at first. But let's put your toe in a couple waters here, a couple ponds, and whichever one you gravitate to is like, let's just fish out of that one and go deep on that. So these are brokerage concepts. Profitability is a brokerage concept. I look at a lot of brokerages in the area and their business model, and they're the Blockbuster, and we're the Netflix. And so it's not going to be popular, but it sure is going to be fun.
It is. I think it's a fear of the unknown, especially when you're recruiting agents. And they've seen obviously that we've tried to build a brokerage presence in Mobile, and they're unsure, and they obviously have people in their ear, telling them to stay away or stick with what you know. But that's, if you stay in a comfort level, if you're not, you're gonna stay stagnant. You have to be willing to get outside your comfort zone to grow.
Yeah.
And once I think we get an opportunity to get more face to face with more agents in Mobile, they're going to see the authentic part of my team as well as the brokerage, and I think we'll see a huge growth.
If anybody's out there listening and they want to recruit, I think that's a good final piece to talk about. Like if they've struggled adding people to their team, it sounds like to me that if you and Adrian out to dinner and your waiter gives you great service, like you're on a talent search at all times. Is that correct?
Yes.
So are you using like Indeed or ZipRecruiter or any of that stuff? Or is it purely just wherever you are looking for people that have a great personality and grit?
That's probably the first. I'm not doing any kind of special recruiting through like Indeed or anything. We recognize talent, and we do give our cards out to quite a few people, and we've got some that are showing a lot of interest. They're asking us a lot of questions, and you also have to be brutally honest with them and say, hey, look, you need to have some income set off to the side to deal with 3 to 4 months. I feel with our team to get you going.
Yeah.
And that's a sacrifice some people aren't willing, are ready to take yet.
Yeah, or can't afford to take. I mean, you don't have the money saved or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I agree. You got to let them know what they're getting into. Your wife was one of the there was you call it like the founding members of the brokerage, and go back to the lunch we had, and she was like, "Is this a recruiting lunch?" Or because I was like, "Listen, this is what you're going to be in for. It's not going to be easy." So, and that's the best way I think to bring them in. Are you using social media to attract people at all? Is that
yes? So
content. What kind of content do you think is attractive? Do y'all showcase your meetings, your culture? How does that work?
Well, that's what we're working on right now. I want to, I guess, get behind the curtain, as you say, and let folks see what we do, from a team standpoint. It's to let them see our culture. I'm trying to get my team members that are not big fans of Facebook Live and doing videos to do some pre-planned, recorded. Hey, why do you love this team? What is it about this team that makes you stay with us? After the ups and downs that we've had. And I'm going to push really hard with Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, because I think people don't realize that LinkedIn it's been there, but we're not. It's kind of, Gary Vee said that was one of the biggest ones that we need to put a lot of focus into.
Yeah, and it's, and I've heard him say that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, it seems like. It's not, it's his voice about LinkedIn is getting louder and louder in my head, but it's still like the redheaded stepchild of the apps in my phone. Like I don't know what it is, but man, is he making some compelling cases for LinkedIn. Yeah.
And I think it's taking the time to learn. At Facebook, that's where most of my focus has been, because it's been king. But is there other, social media platforms that are important? Absolutely.
Well, I tell you, I'm really excited about just going back to the conference thing. We're going to, my conference was in New Orleans last year. NAR's coming to New Orleans this year. I went out to San Francisco last year to NAR, and just lucky I picked this one, breakout session on social media, and her name is Marki, Marki, Riles Lemons. I think that's it. It's a little bit of a complicated name, but her podcast she does is all about social media. She just came out with one about LinkedIn. And I'm telling you, this woman is amazing. And I came back talking about her so much that the Alabama Center for Real Estate put her on their AcreRes stage just here recently. So check that out. You can follow Kyle Whistle. We've talked about Kyle Whistle. He's got his own Facebook education group. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but just go to Facebook and type in Kyle Whistle. You mentioned Jonathan Hawkins, the hashtag agent, and John Wentworth. But Jonathan Hawkins puts out content every single week. He's doing his office hours calls, and it's always, even though I'm not diving into the classes the way I should, at least I'm participating in those calls. every now and then. Now, you mentioned before we got on air, and we just got a couple minutes left, about podcasting. So this is your first podcast, but you have purchased your own podcast equipment.
I have.
And that's what I feel like is it's good to hear that, because I feel like podcasts are hot right now. I feel like people love to consume content in different ways. This whole concept of drive time university or mobile university, is getting really, really big. And I think maybe it's just finding your voice, but realizing that you have a story to tell. But you've got, I'm sure we didn't have time to get into it today, but I'm sure we could have applied military discipline to your business and what the structure of the military has given you. So there's a whole wealth of knowledge right there. You're also like really knowledgeable about sports.
I am.
So you could talk about sports, and I'm sure there could be a lot of sports analogies to business building, but also I think people would be attracted to it because you're passionate about it. So you could do a business or sales podcast, but also like the first 5 minutes could be talking about what's going on in the world of sports. So there's some interesting things about that. And plus, team building has been hot in the real estate industry for a long time now. It was really starting to be like the big topic, the big shiny object in the industry in 2010, 2011 when I started building. But very few people are doing it the right way. Again,
that's going back to what the old put a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build a team so you don't have to work, because I think that's probably the biggest mistake I made, which was I wanted to be able to just kind of be a CEO.
Yeah.
You really got to be willing to build a team so that you can get the most, bang for your buck. If you really want to hit numbers that people talk about on these stages when you go to these conferences and these award shows like the CEPIs that our franchise is part of, you've got to be willing to build it so that it just makes you more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also mentioned something about the family concept. And I had a mentor tell me one time, he was like, everybody on your team, you should want to break bread with them. You should want to share a Christmas dinner with them. You should want to go to their wedding or witness some of these big milestones in their lives. You should want to do life with them and share time with them. If not, then you don't really have a team.
Yeah.
And that's important. I mean, that's one of the big things that you noted here. It's about family and building a community and having each other's back and knowing like when you send your agents on vacation, it's like, we got you covered. Just go and unplug, enjoy yourself. We got everything covered. And in our industry, that's like, you just can't ever afford to turn your phone off.
No, my phone is, my kids yell at me when they're like, can you get off your phone, Dad?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's tough because a lot of folks don't understand, what you have to do to be successful in this industry, but you got to be able to take the time to get away. You got to enjoy your family. You got to enjoy the extended family, which is your team. When you're hiring, you have to think about that. Do they fit into your culture? That's something my wife is very protective of.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, just bring, come on.
Yeah.
I'll find a place for you. She's like, well, I don't know if they're going to fit what we like to do.
Yeah.
She's a mama. She is in this team. She's like the mom, and she protects her cubs, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, I think that's a good point to make. I mean, whether, not everybody, warning label big time. I mean, not every married couple is meant to work together, but in some instance, you have to find your yin and your yang. So if you're not in business with your wife, I think as a team owner, you've got to have somebody like who's the visionary or somebody who's the more practical, analytical person. There needs to be a balance there, but we got to run. I really enjoyed you on the podcast.
Thank
Owen
you.
Gill, how can people get in touch with you in a multiple ways? So let's say they want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, but they also are interested in getting a real estate career and they're attractive. Your team concept sounds attractive to them. How do you want them contacting you?
Well, you could reach out to me personally on my cell phone, which is 251-213-5358. You can email me, Owen at thegillrealtygroup.com. You can also go to our website, thegillrealtygroup.com. And, if you're from a buyer standpoint, just look at it and find out who we are. We have a lot of good information on there just about our team, where everybody's background, where they come from. I say my phone is always on and my email is always going. So You text me, call me, email me, you're going to get a response.
All right. Well, great show. Thanks for sharing, being
you.
collaborative. You've got a lot to offer the real estate industry, in my opinion, and it's going to be exciting. I'm just popping the popcorn, ready to see where this goes because it's going to be big.
It is. 200 in 2020. That's our hashtag.
Wow. Awesome. That's the way we all need to hold you accountable to that.
That's right.
Thanks, Owen Gill, Gill Realty Group, J Park Coast and County. Thank you to our audience for listening. If you've gotten anything out of this podcast, please share it. You know, we are sponsored by J Park Coast and County, but that basically is me. So we don't really have, you know, a big sponsor. But if you got anything out of this, please rate our podcast on iTunes. Share it with somebody who's trying to build a real estate team and invest in other people through education and collaboration. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate our audience very much. Until next time, I'm Jason Will, and this is the Impact Agent Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Impact Agent Podcast. If you liked the show and got something out of it, please like the Impact Agent Podcast on Facebook and rate and review the show on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This really helps us grow the show and helps other agents find it. Please share it with your friends and coworkers as well. Want us to deliver the show to you via email every week? Then email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com and we'll send you the show every week. Please let us know what you think about the show, what you like, what you don't, or possibly make a suggestion about a topic you want to hear. Email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com or leave us a message on Facebook at Impact Agent Podcast. This podcast is produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama, and is paid for and powered by J Park Coast and County. That's JP & Associates Realtors. Until next week, everybody be productive, safe, and happy, and always keep learning.